that's interesting.
All right, cool. Let's get into it. So, you feel like you're not consistent with your laning.
Oh wait, this is the oops. Oh,
What's
this
up?
is the Lulu game somehow.
Do you want to
I
go
guess
over
I.
this one as well, or do you want to start with the same one?
Um, I feel like okay, sure. I guess we can look at laning.
Sure. Yeah, let's look at the lane
I
phase
feel
for
like
this
I
game.
didn't make too many mistakes. Like blatant mistakes. Maybe like I like dodged the wrong way. If you want to count that as a mistake, but we lost lane this game. But I feel like we. I mean, you can tell from my score that like we lost pretty gracefully.
Okay. Yeah, let's take a look. So, when you
Yeah.
see this matchup, Caitlyn Lulu versus Ezreal Karma, how do you envision it going? Like, what does each team want to do?
I feel like if we don't get Prio level 1, then it's Jover.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, yeah, okay, so low key, I like alt tab a lot. I'm a bad guy. Yes, game starts at 0 minutes. They're probably hiding in like like my thinking every time I see like this type of bot lane, like level 1 that can just like quickly poke and
Mm-hmm.
just disengage instantly.
Right.
Obviously, like Karma Ezreal is like very good at that.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably like in the like bush closest to our tower,
Right.
in the bottom right.
Right.
Um, and as you'll see, I'm like wary of that fact, so I'll walk with the minions to like and like be away from the minions so that the Karma AOE doesn't obviously fuck me. Um, but my Caitlyn doesn't take note of that. I try to
Mm-hmm.
ping, but I mean, there's only so much I can do, obviously.
Right. So
But like
that's
obviously
important.
I know
What's
that's
up?
gonna happen probably because I was AFK level 1 and didn't check the bushes. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I don't really need to if I'm just gonna walk with the minions anyways. Is that a decent line of thinking?
Yeah, I would say that that's a
Like
decent line of thinking if you are coming to lane second for some reason. I would say, as a general rule of thumb, when you're playing double ranged matchups, the supports are a lot squishier, and it's all
right,
about whether or not you can land your spells. So most of the time, you guys will be fighting level one to push the wave because if your
yeah,
wave is at their tower, you can freely throw spells at them. Versus if they
right,
have more minions than you, it's a lot
yeah,
harder to do that, and they can play behind their wave.
yeah,
So generally, what I'll do in solo queue, and I think that you should probably get in the habit of doing this. Like you said in this matchup, if you're just sitting under your tower, they're just going to be throwing spells at you, and there's not
yeah,
really much that you can do.
right,
So if you're in a matchup where I need or you need to be in lane like ASAP and contest them, it's really good to just when the game starts at 15, you just path here, and then you ward this bush, or you ward this bush, and then base for
okay.
sweeper, because having sweeper is pretty important versus the other supports, so that you can utilize the bushes a lot better. I'll get into
So
like
wait,
why it's better,
really
but what's up?
quickly, this is the game plan for double range versus double range. Is that
Mm-hmm. It's a little
or
outdated
would you
because they
like?
changed ward timings, but usually it's for double ranged, where like either side can contest and the lane
Uh,
is decided kind of early on, like between levels 1 to 3. Because like if you're winning lanes super hard, uh, in range versus range, there's no real window for them to come back and kill you until you get ganked. If they are just stuck under their tower and you're throwing spells at them constantly, they don't really have a
mhm.
window to kill you. Whereas if you're
Yeah,
playing versus like Kai'Sa Nautilus or something, they're expecting to get pushed in and they're going
yeah,
to try to kill you off of just like a hook or something from full HP.
right.
So that's why it's important to get to lane early and get vision and kind of control the space. Because if you have, let's say you're sitting in this bush and they walk into lane, you can do the same thing to them like you just talked about, where you're going
Yeah.
to poke them instantly
Hmm.
as the game starts. So there's kind of a meta. It's not as prominent anymore because Riot changed the way that wards work, where if you place a ward and then switch to sweeper, you're not going to have your sweeper on the first wave, which is where it's the
Right.
most
Yeah. Yeah.
important. But it's still important to get vision either by sitting here like the whole 1 minute and 30 seconds, or by putting a ward down and then having sweeper. But yeah,
Okay.
you guys come to lane late, so already this lane phase should be losing for you guys
Yeah.
because they can touch the minions first. In ranged
Right.
versus
Right.
ranged, normally in bot lane in general, what you do with the minions kind of depends on how strong you are. But in ranged versus ranged, your goal should be to push the wave into the enemy team because, like I
Hmm.
said, when they're under tower, that's when you can throw spells at them. So you guys being late to lane here, if they just decide to throw auto attacks on the wave, you're going to be in a rough spot.
Yeah.
So how do you lose gracefully? We were talking about losing gracefully. Just from how this level one went.
Somehow, some way, we like okay. I mean, if you skip ahead, you'll see that we're like shoved under tower, perma,
Mm-hmm.
and my Caitlyn is getting fucked really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but somehow we maintain like even CS, and their bot lane eventually makes some mistakes, and then we can like capitalize on like a kill. Um, yeah. Here, yeah, I mean, obviously level 2. Um, we keep autoing here. Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Okay, bit of a situation. So your AD carry obviously griefed, but what was the thing that went wrong here?
Like they're obviously hitting level. Oh wait, here?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, I'm not autoing the wave. I'm autoing them instead.
No, I think your autos on them were pretty good. So,
Oh, it's like already lost. We should just like back up already.
mm-hmm. So
They already need more minions.
it's already lost. So you guys should be in the mindset of giving prio. But
Okay.
when you give prio, you don't want to just like back up completely and run all the way to your tower. When you
Okay.
give prio, it's important to take up as much space as possible and kind of
Uh-huh.
flex while you can. Because if you're
Okay.
taking up space, let's say, for example, the difference between you standing here and you standing here.
Okay.
If you're standing right where my mouse is, then they have to think about either throwing spells at you or using their
Mm-hmm.
auto attacks on the wave because they're not level 2 yet. Whereas
Yes.
if you are all the way back here, they can simultaneously auto attack the wave and get space to zone
Move
you at the same
forward.
time.
Right. Okay.
So you should use the downtime when Karma just used her spells.
Mm-hmm.
She just used Q. It's on cooldown for 6 seconds. What I would
Mm-hmm.
do if I was in your position is I would immediately walk into this bush
Mm-hmm.
and then hold this space because they're either going to place a ward down to auto attack you and then they have one less ward, or
Mm-hmm.
they're going to walk towards you, in which case you can just walk away. But the benefit of holding the bush is that if they don't ward it, you could be anywhere here. So even though you're not actually like playing aggressive and getting space, just sitting here is infinitely more pressure than sitting where you are right now. Because if you sit in
Mm-hmm.
this bush, you could be anywhere here. So theoretically, your range is like this. But
Okay.
if you're sitting where you are now, you have a
Yeah.
fixed
Yeah.
range, and if you
Right.
walk forwards towards them, they can just walk back. So you're never going to
Right.
do anything when you're standing right here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So utilizing this time where Karma has no Q and she's kind of walking away to then kind of get a bit more space and give a little bit more time for your Caitlyn to CS is really important because while you're walking up to here, your Caitlyn now has time to CS these 3 creeps. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you're just kind of using your body, even though you're not winning, quote unquote, but just getting an opportunity for your
Right.
Caitlyn to farm.
Okay, got you.
So yeah, we're still kind of not really doing anything, and we're auto attacking the wave. And
Yeah.
now it's at the point where okay, they're 2 minions from level 2.
Right.
So as soon as Caitlyn gets this last caster, you know that neither of these 2 minions are gonna die. So you guys should just fuck off.
Yeah.
And any of this CS is not gonna be yours until the wave gets to your tower because you're
Got
level
it.
1.
Yep.
So because you guys make the mistake of going for this
Yeah, I
auto
don't.
attack here,
That was so stupid. I don't know why the fucking. That was so stupid.
yeah, we end up dying.
Yeah.
So this is already kind of a mayday.
Yeah.
And
That's really. And
sorry, you
they
go.
obviously get shoved in as well, I guess.
The thing to keep in mind as well is if this situation didn't happen, a lot of bot lane is dependent on how the junglers are pathing. So if we look at the junglers at this time in the game, Elise just did 3 camps. So we see her on Raptors. We know that he either is going to invade here or he's going to go to his top side, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
But your jungler just killed all of his top camps, which means
Yep.
anything he wants to do will be around bot lane until like 4:20 when this respawns.
Right. Yep.
So for the next 2 minutes, it's more valuable for your jungler to be bot side than theirs. So these guys have to be aware of that. Either their Elise doesn't full clear his camps and he goes to invade, in which you guys can actually fight in the jungle. Like Ezreal Karma is really good if you're in lane under tower and they're throwing spells at you. But in a straight up brawl to the death where you're putting your shield on like Lee Sin, if he doesn't
Yeah.
get one shot, you guys should win, right?
Yep.
So even though these guys have push and they can pressure you under tower, it's not actually that good for them to invade you on this blue buff and take your bot camps. So with that logic in mind, if we're like thinking about how the jungle's pathing, you guys should view this situation as long as we are full HP, even if we aren't getting CS, we're eventually going to have a situation because of the jungles where our jungler is bottom to help us and their jungler is not.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's even more important that you guys don't die on this timing. Because
Yeah.
if we go back to it and play it out, your Caitlyn comes back bottom, their bot lane just pushes this wave, and they completely ignore the timing where Lee Sin will be bot to potentially look for a gank. He was looking to gank mid around 10 seconds ago. Imagine if Ezreal is half HP, or I don't know, 75% HP if you guys didn't fight, and he's sitting here hitting your tower. Then
Yeah.
your Lee Sin is way more incentivized to come bot. But now,
Right.
not only do you lose that timer, so Lee Sin doesn't have a gank bot anymore, but Karma
Mhm.
has an opportunity to either recall like he did, or if there's a situation here mid, he can effectively get a roam timing to come mid and influence this mid matchup or invade when you can't do anything about it. So you guys gave them a back timer when, look at the jungles right now. It would be so good if they were still here bottom and you guys kept them here because Lee Sin would have a free gank.
Right.
That's what I mean by losing gracefully. I think a lot of it comes down to where your teammates are. Like, I think a lot of this matchup is one, the lane phase, but also the jungles. And based on how Lee Sin's pathing, it feels really bad for Lee Sin to be bottom here. He just is about to finish his Gromp, and now you guys are in base. You know what I mean? But yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that completely makes sense. I got you.
And now it's like Lee Sin just finished bot crab. If we look at Elise, she recently ganked top.
Mhm.
So most junglers around 420 will come back to their crux. That's when their first camp respawns if they full cleared.
Mhm.
So the next 30 seconds is the only timing that you guys would have to gank bottom before Elise is here. But these guys are playing really safe and there's a big wave. So now you have no opportunity to make a play bot. And I think in this kind of matchup, when you're the losing side, you want to create opportunities for your jungler to want to gank. I think a lot of people have a misconception too, where they'll be like, oh, my jungler never ganks bottom, even though the enemy team is pushing to me aggressively. But I think that's largely because people don't really understand how jungle timing works. Because Lee Sin's timing to be bot would be between like 350 and 420 based on Elise pathing and his pathing. Because he eventually wants to make it back to his Krug respawn and farm his camps and hit level 6. Most junglers will not like sacrifice their clear to help their laners, and that's why people get really frustrated. You should manipulate your lane around your jungler's timings, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, for sure. And okay, if I can really like
Go for it, yeah. While we
the
watch this.
reason I wanted to like we fought a little bit was obviously Bleason is pathing bot, and if we like obviously fight a little bit, it's pretty good. Because like there's that incentive to like fight, I guess.
Right.
Or like gank, sorry, because like, oh, they're low, we're both low, but like you're pathing towards us,
Mm-hmm.
and they're pathing away. But like, I guess we overcommitted, in that level 1 to 2, because they hit level 2, but we kept fighting when we are level 1.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously was like way overextended for like their timing to hit to level 2, so that was obviously on me. But like, um, yeah, I guess like my thought process there was like, okay, let me just like do as much damage to these guys as possible. Obviously, we're gonna get shoved in at this point, but um, yeah, obviously, like I kind of ran it down.
Right. I mean, that line of thinking is pretty good because it's like your jungler is
Yeah.
pathing down, their jungler should be pathing away. So it's good for us to make it volatile. But I think there's two things that are really important to consider when you're kind of opting into making your lane volatile. I think the first question that you usually ask before you're making the lane volatile is one,
Die.
do we know where their jungler is pathing? That's the first
Yeah.
thing. Because Elise ended up showing on Raptor Ward, but you guys had no idea where she was until you already made it volatile. So
Yeah.
if you make it volatile, the thing is, Elise, like I said, she's doing 3 bot camps. Lee Sin's doing 3 top camps. So Elise, if let's say both junglers kill Raptors at the same time, they're both full clearing, Elise can actually make it to bot before Lee Sin can.
Right.
So if you were to make it volatile, their jungler can be there first if he chooses to. So that's something to
That's
consider. Unless
okay.
you know, for example, it's really good if their jungler comes bot. Like, let's say your top lane is playing Jace, and
Yeah.
let's say this top lane is super volatile, like Jace versus Riven, for example, and both top laners really want to fight to the death in the early game. I could be
Uh-huh.
wrong about that matchup, but let's just say a super volatile top matchup. If you
Mhm.
are playing with the intention of bringing their jungler to bottom, it's really good for the other side of the map. But in this case, you guys have a Singed in top. Most likely, you guys aren't going to look to gank top until like level 6 or something. But
Yeah.
you guys need to be strong. If Caitlyn is weak, there's 2
Yeah.
enchanters in this game, you guys just lose. So
Yeah.
you have to weigh the risks of, if I make my lane volatile, is it actually good for the game? And I think that you didn't have enough information to like decide that before you opted into volatility. The second thing also is that when I make my lane volatile, is it good for me? Let's say Lee Sin gets pulled to mid or he gets pulled to top. Do I actually win my 2v2 by making my lane volatile? And
Mhm.
the way that you can decide that is, do we get push? Because if you're making the lane super volatile, but the enemy team is just pushing you under tower, they're gonna get that timer to recall on the third wave almost always. Even if your jungler is pathing bot, they'll always get
Right.
this timer if they push you in to press B as soon as they crash wave 3 like they did here. So even if
Mhm.
you're 1 HP and they're 1 HP, because of how the wave is, they're going to get a base timer. So it's not that good to make the lane volatile unless it's actually going to change your lane state, meaning like you're going to prevent them from basing because they're too low to crash their wave, or they're uh, fighting you instead of pushing, so they can't crash their wave in time. But making your lane volatile should always be with the wave in mind, if that makes sense.
Okay, that's fair.
Because a lot of people will just like fight to fight, but it's really important to think about, how is this fight going to give me an advantage? And in this case, it doesn't really. Yeah, let's look at the rest of the lane. So you guys are in a losing state. You end up pushing this wave. They could freeze this if they want. They don't. Like I said, we missed the timer to gank bot. So now you
Yeah.
guys are just going to get humped. And we're in a code red situation because the wave is pushing to us. Our jungler is
Oh my
showing on the
God.
map. And
Yep.
Karma has flash and you don't. So anytime
Yep.
Karma wants, she can just flash W you and you should die.
Mhm. They luckily went for the full sum Caitlyn, so that was kind of lit.
Yeah, they went for the
Yeah.
Caitlyn
I
with
think
flashy
I think
there.
Ezreal kills himself here, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, and that's another
We
thing
got
about solo
really
queue
lucky
too.
here.
People will
We got
always
really
make mistakes. I mean, you guys ended
yeah.
up lucking out and not dying, but people will
Oh,
always
100.
make mistakes. Like, first things first, Elise went mid for no reason. She could very
Yeah, yeah.
easily be in this tribush right now and diving you
Yep.
guys. So
Yep.
their trade that was quote unquote bad is actually good. The reason being is because they see Lee Sin here.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah,
because they
for
see
sure.
your jungler, they can play like psychopaths, and even if they take a bad trade, their jungler should be
It's,
coming bot lane to
yep.
punish you guys.
Yep.
Keep in mind too, this is entirely dependent on the junglers, and the lower elo you are, the less likely your jungler is to
Yeah,
do the
yeah,
correct play. Like your
yeah.
Elise is
It's
hitting
very
here,
true.
your Elise
I've
is
definitely
sitting
been on
here.
like Karma's POV where I'm like, okay, I'm beating the shit out of them. Surely my jungler, who's bot side, has no cam sub, will come bot. But they're like, no, I want to get grubs or some shit. I'm fucking
Yeah, I
up.
mean, this
But
Elise took this cannon minion and like 3 casters instead of
yeah,
getting
yeah,
a free double kill.
double kill and a crash,
Yeah,
denial
and you
of
guys
all
lose
that.
all this, your game's over if they're Elisa's bot.
Yep,
But it's fine. He wants
yep.
to kill it for creep. It's all
It's
good.
so crazy. Yeah.
But that's just what's interesting about League. People will make mistakes always because let's say if Elise is doing what she's doing, you guys obviously don't know Elise is going mid, but their team does. Why is Ezreal losing all of his HP and having to base when his jungler isn't there to dive? So
I mean, okay,
Ezreal
I
actually
guess
made a
to be
mistake.
fair, he was fighting the Caitlyn when she was level 2. I feel like anybody else would also play like him. It just so happened to be that like look, he's literally level oh he's level 3, sorry. And she's level 2. Um but I don't know, I body blocked I guess, so it's chill.
I think Ezreal just made the mistake of Eing into melee range of you.
That's fair. Yeah,
If he
you just
E's
get
like
something.
over here instead of
Oh
where
yeah,
he
yeah.
did, then they get a better trade.
Yeah, yeah. He
and he
also
also
puts on
walked onto
the
a trap.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So he played this the worst way possible. But it's like he should not opt to make the lane volatile. He just went for a trade and misplayed. So people will
Yep.
always make mistakes in solo queue, and you'll always have a window to come back. So it's good that you're not having the mentality of like, oh, my AD carry is griefing, we lost. Because a lot of other people that I've coached will go into a situation like this where their AD carry dies level 1, and they're like, oh my gosh, my AD carry died level 1, I just lost. I can't play the game.
Mm. I don't know. Okay, low key, I would have done that, but like for some reason this game I was like very chill. I was like, it's typing, it's okay, and shit like that. I don't know what it was, but I was very chill. But I definitely would have been on the other side of the coin more often than not. Obviously, our okay now our waves giga fucked, but again somehow they make another mistake.
What did
I
they
don't
do
know.
wrong here?
He's just shoving for fun. I don't know. This is so disgusting by him. I would be very disappointed.
Yeah. And why is this a mistake?
He's 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 taking his freeze that he had and giving us a freeze for fun.
And it's also like the reason why you freeze is to deny. Oh, I can't English. To deny the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
team from getting gold and XP, right? By
Yeah, he's
hard shoving,
denying.
you guys get you miss 1 minion. You get all 5 of these for free. So it's good that
I,
you are recognizing that as well, because they don't make use out of the lane state that they have.
yeah.
I think this is also a common mistake a lot of AD carries will make in every elo, where they'll just auto attack the wave for fun because they like right clicking.
Yeah.
You're gonna run into this a lot, and so being mindful of that is really good, and it'll help you kind of understand how to punish people better. It's so
Well,
far your
I have
laning seems fine.
like I don't like the way Ezreal's playing right now. I mean, okay, I guess like for this wave it's chill, but like obviously that other like he was pushing so he could get dragon, but like we based, so I'm not sure why he's shoving because there's no need to get that prio, right? Obviously,
Right. So
he literally saw us base. He literally saw us base.
when you leave
Uh,
lane, you want to leave lane. A lot of people think, oh, before I leave my lane, I need to push. And that's
yeah.
true for most cases because let's
Oh
say he
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
touch this wave at all and it's pushing to you guys, he's going to
Yeah, he just
miss all the
dragon.
minions.
Yeah, yeah.
But if we
Many
look at the
times
lane
I have
state
to like convince
before,
I have to
Mhm.
convince my AD carry where like it's a I would obviously recall here. I mean they just came from a recall and they got a frozen wave.
Mhm.
But there's been a lot of I don't know why in Diamond I feel like at this point in at this elo you should probably know that. But I have to ping them off many times to just like yo press B or like don't push. I don't know.
Right. So he doesn't
Yeah.
have to touch this wave because it's going to freeze. And
Of course.
because it's going to freeze, he can either stay here and last hit or he can go to dragon. But he
Yep.
thinks that he needs to push to go to dragon, but like you said, he doesn't because you guys are basic. And also, your jungler's top. So
Yeah.
there's no need for him. There's no urgency for him to move to this dragon.
And it's a cannon wave, so it's not like we can shove that in really quickly either way.
Exactly. And also keep in mind, the reason why it's even better for him to freeze is because Elise is doing dragon. After he
Yeah.
does dragon, because Lee Sin is showing top, you guys have the opportunity, or sorry, blue team has the opportunity to make a play and punish you guys on the
Yeah.
tower. So
Yep.
he wants to keep the wave near his side and build up as big a wave as possible so that he can use it when his jungler is ready to play the game. Elise does
Yeah.
dragon, and by the time Elise finishes it, you guys have already killed those 5 minions. So they're
Yeah.
losing 5 minions in a potential play that they'd make. And obviously, Elise doesn't have to go for it, but they're just not playing the game optimally. So you guys are doing
I
a
mean,
good job at stalling.
counter jungle or like check for counter jungle. They can obviously get vision in our bot side, see what's up.
hmm
Obviously, they see Lee Sin top, so like, um, it's kind of fucked for us because it's a 2v3 situation until, like we can't we don't know like where Elise is right now, right? Obviously, because we just know that she did dragon, so she can still be in the area, but like, um, for some reason she doesn't invade us here. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, she ends up crossing the map into Lee Sin and dying.
Oh, is that what? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got insanely lucky this game. This game is like I recognize that we giga lost lane, but they just I don't know gave us the win. I guess.
And I think you guys are doing a good job of not bleeding. Caitlin's only down
Yeah,
2 CS and 2 plates for her
it's not
basically
even
losing the
10
game
CS,
level
it's
2.
away from it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so this is actually a pretty decent spot for you guys to be in. I mean, we
Yeah.
know the mistake that you made in lane, and I guess this
Yeah.
covers like most of the early game laning. And you
Yeah.
also seem to recognize kind of what their team's doing wrong and how they should be playing their waves. So I feel like
Yeah,
your laning is actually pretty decent. Obviously, you just killed yourself level 2, so that wasn't good. But from what
yeah.
you're saying so far, you know what you're doing.
Yeah, but like, why did I do that? I know that like they're gonna hit level 2 off of like the 3 minions. It's just that sometimes I'm not just consistent with that, and I like have a bad habit of getting mind controlled by like my teammates sometimes.
That's fair.
Oh,
Especially as an enchanter, you want to be following up with what your team's doing. It's really easy to fall into that
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of bad
yeah,
habit of just following someone.
yeah.
I think the thing that helped me the most when I was that kind of player as well is kind of doing this, but in game, where you zoom out and you look at the whole map. Obviously, you can't do that when you're playing the
Yeah, yeah,
game, but
yeah.
you want to be doing this when you're playing lane, as weird as that sounds. You want to be thinking, okay, where is their jungler right now? And if I actually opt into this trade, is it good for me? And then
Yeah.
obviously you're going to have to adapt to whatever this guy does, but
Hmm.
trying to think about the game in terms of what does everybody want to do to be
Oh yeah, for
successful
sure.
will
Yeah.
help you with kind of knowing what to do in the moment too, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I try to track the jungle as much as possible early game, but so now current meta is like um you don't leash at all,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? So we won't know like what side of the map they're gonna start. We just have to guess based off of like lane matchups, um like obviously Singe is not going to like push into Jace. So like Elise could potentially like look for top plays for either he's gonna like try to not lane at all and like proxy. I guess like Singe is a obscure example, but like he's either gonna try to proxy or he's gonna be AFK under tower and try like be really low looking for dive. So my mindset is already like I don't know what way she's gonna path. I feel like because our top lane is so weak compared to theirs, she's gonna look for a top play, which I guess was confirmed with the Raptor ward that we saw like level 3 or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
level 2, whatever. Um, so that was my initial thought process as to why I'm taking these like grief like play like trades, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, but obviously, like I have to still keep in mind that like they can kill us level 2 on their own. And if she does want to, as you said, like change her mind, because like Elise is obviously super strong level 3. She can just like bot side clear into just bot dive, which I would have if I was the jungler on their side, because like
Mm-hmm.
we were literally 1 HP. Um, so yeah, I guess like I just didn't put all of those things together this game.
Right.
I would say that doesn't happen as often. I would say this game in particular, I like played poorly because of that. Like Caitlyn kept fighting level 1. I was like, okay, I have a shield level 1. Karma has 2, so hopefully we win. I don't know. We're just praying here.
Yeah. I mean, just
That
to
we
touch
like
on what you were
egos to
saying.
dodge.
Sorry, you
Yeah.
continue.
No, no, no.
To touch on what you were
That,
saying about kind of you had the idea that based on the matchups, you know where their jungler is pathing, so you have a rough idea of how you want to play the lane, and you want to make it volatile because it's better for your jungler to be bot lane
yeah.
than it is for their jungler to be bot lane. I think I kind
Mhm.
of view those kinds of situations as like lenses, I guess, for kind of what theme of the game of League of Legends you're playing is, but it shouldn't
Okay.
be the black and white kind of like rule book where you're like, oh, I need to make it volatile because this is the game state. Because ultimately, even if a play or like a game should go a certain way, it's League of Legends and it's always going to be dependent on how you actually play the game. So I'd kind of have like a little mental note of like, yeah, their jungler should path top, but you should still play around the fact that
Hmm.
he could opt to come bot lane anyways. So when you're
Yeah.
making the lane volatile in general for this point, just always make sure that you have the information before you go for a play, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like you
Yep.
would make a really shit play or a really shit trade good if you
Hmm.
saw their jungler on a ward, and you knew, oh, he's not bottom 100%, so it's really good for me to make it volatile. But
Hmm.
don't opt into situations that require your teammates to follow up on you before you actually have all the information. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
But like I said, you're gonna opt into these plays because you kind of tunnel on an idea, and you're like,
Yeah.
the game should go like this, so I'm just gonna play this certain way. I would say just try to stray away from that and go into the lane phase thinking like, oh, this is how I generally want to play the game, but then really focus on, actually playing the lane, like dodging the skill shots, think about how you're positioning, and do whatever you can to kind of refocus on your character once you start laning.
Right.
But yeah, well, let's look at the rest of the lane phase. We can kind of just speed through it here. I want to talk about team fights and take a look at how you played them, because I remember you were talking about how you wanted to play team fights a little bit better, and this is a nice little kill here. You wanted to play team fights in a way where your team is on the same page with you, and you're not making plays expecting your team to follow up, and then
We
they
saw
don't.
Talon there. I'm not. Okay, so yeah. Do you mind backspace or like going
Yeah,
back a little
sure.
bit? So, we just killed Ezreal. We see Talon right there.
Hmm.
See him right there. I'm pinging him. Um, what do you do here? Like the wave is fine. If you're Caitlyn, it's just like gonna do that. Like, is you just accept that or like?
Right.
Um,
So let's take a look one more time. So Ezreal dies. You get a really nice punish on him.
the wave
Obviously,
is insanely good for us.
your team
We don't know
wants.
Talon's here yet. But now we see him. So, do you just shove this out? Like, how can you shove this out? I don't think you can shove this out, right?
So you guys can't show this out because Talon has flash, right? You don't have any
Yeah.
cooldowns available. I think
Yep.
that this kind of you kind of lure your AD carry into a false sense of safety by how you're playing this. And what I
Well,
mean
we
by
can
this,
escape the Talon already. Like, we see Talon like way ahead of time, but we continue to just keep shoving her.
right. So this requires a little bit more foresight from your end. I think this ties a little bit into, I guess, general mentality of players. I think a big
Okay.
mistake that a lot of players make, even in the LCS, is when you get a win, you want to get even more off of that win. When you kill Ezreal,
Oh yeah.
Caitlyn naturally will want to push this bot wave because it feels really good. And you're not going to consider, do they have anything to stop me from doing this when a play already starts going good? People are really bad at having discipline and just
Right.
cutting things
yeah.
off after a small win. And
That's why
so,
people just chase, right?
mhm. So as support, I mean that's why people chase in League. It's really important to know this when you play support because you're not the main dude. You're like the guy that sets people up, and so
Yeah.
to be a better support player, you have to understand the mind of Caitlyn. Caitlyn right now is tunneling on living this team fight and killing
Yeah.
minions and CSing. Just watch from Caitlyn's POV. Oh, my Lulu just killed Ezreal. Cool. I can shove this wave in. Awesome. Yeah, help me push this wave, Lulu.
And we see Talon.
Then he sees Talon for a sec. He's like,
Don't we just click back here? Don't we just click? Look at me. I'm clicking back. You can see me. You can literally see I'm clicking back. I don't know.
So it's natural for Caitlyn to want to push. And yes,
Okay.
he could have backed after he saw Talon. However, as support, you have more mental energy than your AD carry does because you don't CS. So
Right, yeah.
I think even going into this play, whenever you go for any play as a support, you should always think about who can be here. So first things first, we see Elise here. We don't know where Talon is. So in the
Yeah.
back of your mind when you're going for this play, you should be thinking, oh, their Talon can come here, right?
Yeah.
You're still going for the 2v2 where we don't know where Talon is. You have the foresight to know, okay, I can kill this Ezreal because he has nothing and I have flash, but you still don't know where Talon is. And I don't really think you went into this play with the mindset of their Talon can be here.
100%.
Because
Yeah.
until Talon shows mid, killing this next wave, he
Yeah.
could be anywhere, and he is on the way bottom.
He's at the end.
So
I mean,
what
I
you-
guess like I have a
Mhm.
sense of security because like if you look at like their jungle, look at that. It's beautiful. It's lit up. Lit.
Yeah, you know he's not behind you, so you know you can flash for this kill. However, you should always kind of do a checklist right after you get a good play. Can we keep going
Yeah.
for more? And so
Yeah.
after you kill this guy, you kind of baited your Caitlyn into this play from what you did next. If you're really good and you know, okay, Talon could come bot, we can't do this next wave. After you get this kill, you would walk back to Caitlyn and danger ping here, or danger ping here, and then ping Talon alive. And your Caitlyn would be like, oh, maybe
When
there
we
could be a
saw-
Talon here. What's up?
Yeah. Okay. I pinged him when we saw him. Like if you just like I guess play right here.
Mhm.
We see him for a split second in that pocket of vision right there.
Right.
And the wave is still not like pushed completely, or like we see him right there. I ping like look, if you see the chat, you'll see pinks coming in a quick second.
Mhm.
There he is.
So you guys
We
can leave at
I
this
like
point.
blue ping or whatever, and then I ping him, but I guess we just die. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. You did see him and you did ping him. I want to say to get into the next level of this, the very baseline of it at like a silver, gold, plat, diamond level, anything below master tier is, oh, I see their talent. He has flash. I don't have cooldowns. We can't get this wave. But I think
Yep.
the next level of this and what you should aim to do, because you talked about how you kind of see angles in advance and you know how things should go. You were a Grandmaster previously. And so a Grandmaster support would have the proactivity to danger ping off your Caitlyn before he uses Q on this wave and ping him back. Because at this point, when Talon shows, Caitlyn already started pushing the wave. So she's
Yeah.
going to lose a bit of CS. And obviously, you and I both know that doesn't matter. We just killed their AD carry. We should take the small win. Even if we lose a bit of CS and the wave's frozen, it's 13 minutes. It's not that big a deal. But AD
Yeah.
carries just love killing themselves. I was an AD carry main myself. If an AD
Yes.
carry can kill themselves for minions, they will. However, if when you were going for the Ezreal, you pinged Caitlyn back and you pinged Talon missing, maybe there's a chance that he doesn't push the wave. And then you guys could
Okay.
just base. Because
Yeah.
you'd rather base here, not touch the wave at all, and play around the fact that Talon can move here, than push the wave. And now you're in this situation where Caitlyn sees Talon, but he's like, I mean, the wave's already pushing. You know, if this guy wants to flash for me, I'll die. Where that's kind of the situation that he was put in that I think you could have avoided if you had a bit more foresight. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, it's kind of hard for me to say you should know this happens in advance if you were paying attention to mid, but
Yeah.
to get to the next level of being a support, especially as an enchanter player, you need to have a lot of foresight. And so kind of microing your team, I guarantee you, if as soon as you did this, instead
I
of
probably
clicking
might.
forward, you run to Caitlyn and you back ping her and you question mark ping Talon, she would play safe. Like, let's say you question mark ping Talon here in this bush, you walk over
Yeah.
here and you start recalling, your Caitlyn's not going to feel safe to walk up.
Fair.
Like, he might be annoyed at you. He's like, yo, why is my support not walking up? We have vision. But it's a better situation than you look for this Q auto on Karma that does nothing. So he at least feels safety to walk up a little bit more. Like, still going for more here is
Fair,
baiting
fair,
this guy
fair.
with no brain to kill himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to
okay,
assume that your AD carry has no brain always.
fair. Okay.
So by doing this and going for this play, your AD carry is like, all right, let's push. Like, doesn't it feel
Yeah, okay.
terrible to go for this kill, stay an extra 3 seconds for Karma, and the minions are right here already. So
Yeah,
now
okay.
it's like we're just going to base with the wave right here. Karma could stop our back.
Yeah.
You guys would have to walk back all the way here and
Yep.
base. Whereas if we based even like 2 or 3 seconds sooner right after the Ezreal kill, it would feel a lot more natural for you guys to recall. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I don't know. Like, what if like she? I don't know. If you look at gold, maybe she had a BF sword or some shit. I don't know.
Whether or not this guy kills himself is not within your control. This is another human being that's playing without a brain because he's playing AD carry. No offense to AD carry mains. So I think just being better overall in solo queue, especially as an enchanter player, is about minimizing the opportunities that your teammates have to kill themselves. They're still going to do it. Like, whether or not Caitlyn wants to kill himself for this wave is not up to you, but you can at least make it less likely that he kills himself.
Okay. Yeah. Happens.
Let's see what you do out of base here. All right, you walk towards top side. You walk mid. What actually made you walk mid here from base?
Because I was assuming that like Ezra's gonna go mid because he died. Talon was bot, so he's probably gonna shove it in the wave bot. So I'm like, okay, Ezra's gonna be mid. That's my opponent, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Is anything spawning soon? I guess like Herald is spawning, but that would be top side. I don't know if Dragon's spawning soon. I don't think so. At this
Right.
point.
So if we take a look at this game,
I just wanted to be around my Lee Sin because at this point he's the strongest. If you press like tab, he's the strongest. I think that was my mindset. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, he's the strongest by far. So I'm like, let me be around this guy. This guy, if he needs help, I'm here. You know.
no, 100%. I mean, you touched on all of the
I wanna
main
play
points
for
why you
Herald
would
'cause,
leave
like,
lane.
I feel like we giga lose. Obviously, look at the chases items versus our fucking half item. Like we're not going top. Let's just like come mid. If they invade bot, which is obviously a terrible mistake, terrible mistake. um, for them,
Hmm.
we'd just be winning super hard.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Would you have clicked bot here immediately? Is that what you were getting at, maybe?
No, no, I was getting it. I mean, you did this all correctly. So, judging off the last play, Talon used flash ulti bot. He wants to base
Yeah,
and spend his gold after hitting this tower. He just got a plate.
yeah,
It's 14 minutes, usually around 14 minutes, and competitive at
yeah,
least. That's when bot lanes will go mid out of base and start laning mid
yeah,
because they're one item.
right.
Also,
Yeah,
just the thing about mid lane is if you go mid out of base and you push the
you can
mid
go
wave,
anywhere.
yeah, you can go
Yep.
anywhere. If you go bot lane straight out of base, you're pigeonholed into being bot. And
Yeah,
at this time in the game, you touched on another really good concept, which is you want to link up with your jungler. Your jungler's 4-0. So
yeah,
if you were to show bot lane here on this next wave that's coming in, you don't actually add any value to Caitlyn pushing
yep,
because
right.
Talon is likely to base. If he were to
Yeah,
stay, he has no ulti, no flash, no ignite. Caitlyn can't
mhm,
die to Talon. It's pretty impossible.
yeah,
So you want to boost numbers on mid. One,
yeah,
to link up with your jungler, like you said. Two,
mhm,
because it's how you go anywhere. So controlling this mid wave that's coming in is the most important part of the next play that's going to happen. And
yeah,
three, you don't actually need to be bottom for this wave because you know that the only guy that can really kill him right now is about to base.
mhm,
But it's important to know that going into it. I think a lot of
yeah.
supports make mistakes of like, where do I open from base? And generally speaking, if you don't know where to go, it's almost never bad to just go mid. So I like what you did here.
I'm literally just following. Yeah, we're looking for any plays. They're shoving up.
Mm-hmm.
We obviously don't see that word, so we're assuming it's unworded or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna frontline really quickly.
So yeah, let's see what you did here. So why did you walk into them here?
Because this, okay, I don't know. This guy just loves to fight this Ezreal, so I'm just like, yo, I think we just kill him. So we just like go in and kill him. I think. Do we? Yeah, I think we do. Like, obviously, Lee Sin is super strong.
No, this was perfect. This was a perfect play from you. Do you know why this play was good, other than Ezreal's going to play super aggressive?
I mean, Lee Sin's in the area. Zillion has a like. There's two enchanters and a bruiser. Fucking GG, you know.
Right. And
That's
also,
my.
their
That's my.
Talon's basing, right? You know that he just based. So
Oh,
he's
that's true. I
he's
have.
here.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't
He's
think about
here
Elise.
or he's here with no flash and no ulti.
That's fair. Okay.
And
Okay.
then Elise, she has all of her bot camps up, right?
Yeah.
So it's efficient because Raptors isn't up
I
yet.
feel really
She'll
safe because like
probably
if
be
you look.
here.
Yeah, yeah. If you look at the vision, like on bot side, like it's very hard for us to get surprised. So like I feel very confident, I guess, even though I have no idea. I'm assuming it's 14 minutes. They're gonna be top side. I feel like Talon is gonna path mid, um, uh, just to like okay, rotate back to like bot lane. These guys rotate back bot, and so like we're approaching from the bot side because they're gonna want to go bot, and so they're gonna either walk into us or I mean, die, right? And
Hmm.
die. Talon's probably coming mid, but like we assume that Elise is top. If she's not top, we see her like from a mile away because like of the vision that we had, right? In the
Yeah,
bot.
you would see her coming from mid. She
Yeah,
can't come from here or here, so she'd have to come
yeah,
through
yeah,
mid. So this was a really good play, and I think a lot of enchanters don't really recognize these
yeah.
windows,
And
so this is good.
here I think blue buff, because it was coming up, so we got the blue buff. That was really nice.
Hmm.
I'll leave that up for my Zillion here. When I'm Sona, I always take blue buffs. By the way, is that a good thing?
I would,
Bad
yeah. I
thing?
like taking blue buff on Sona.
Yeah. Unless it's like Cassin or Zed or something, you know. I always take blue buff. Yeah. And then yeah, now we're mid, pretty stable for the most part. Fighting for wards, you know, the classic. And now we're obviously dragon is spawning, so like I really, really, really want to get vision of that area. Um, how do I convince people to show up to dragon like 30 seconds beforehand? You know, to help me get vision so that I can recall and then get fresh wards.
Oh,
That's
I see
my
what you're
that's my
talking about. Trying to get vision in an area before the objective and then basing to
yeah, yeah.
refresh
Like it's
rewards.
you can see it's like grayed out, so it's like less. I mean, we can see the pings. 40 seconds until it spawns. So right now, I want to go to dragon right now. Ward recall with like 4 fresh wards. Right. Is that correct? Like that's what my line of thinking is almost always. So yeah, right now I have 4 wards. I want to go into the bot side and like ward up, recall for new wards if Karma or Talon or I guess Elise doesn't have a sweeper, but I would assume she'd have a sweeper. But like they're probably gonna sweep. right? So I would have 4 new wards to like put down after they use their sweepers.
Right.
Um,
I think that generally speaking, right before an objective, 30 seconds before is a bit too late because you're going to
okay.
base and you're going to be late to the mid wave that's spawning before the objective. Also, generally speaking, as support, two other things. The first thing being you should not show on the mid wave if you're looking to get
Okay.
this vision because you're not adding anything to this push. You're kind of just revealing
Okay.
yourself for fun. Whereas if you were to
Uh,
walk straight here, you're in range of Lee Sin to help you if Elise is somewhere nearby. Because you don't know where
okay.
Jace is, but you're pretty sure he can't be here. You see their Karma, you see their Talon. So the only person that can be here is Elise. But you still don't want to walk through Vision, potentially get cocooned here, and then one-shot by Ezreal. You'd rather walk out of Vision
I
with your
think
jungler to get the
I
wards.
assumed they were doing Herald, so I felt safe to. Did I walk through the
Yeah, you're just
mid?
in the middle of mid, showing yourself for no reason. I think this would be
Yeah.
really good if you didn't show, because keep in mind, if you show and you walk in, they know kind of a rough idea of where you're putting wards down and like
Uh-huh.
when you're gonna base. Whereas if you just walk straight in here, you potentially could place the wards in base, and they didn't see you the entire time, so they don't
Okay.
know that. Like the next time you show, if you were to get these wards down without any vision, or that without any vision from their team seeing you, by the time you base and commit and they press tab and they see that you have 3 wards,
Well,
they don't
yeah, they're
know
like,
that this is warded.
I got you. Okay. Okay.
So it's really important in the mid game, like after 14 minutes, just never reveal yourself for fun. Even if you wanted to help Caitlyn on this wave, the way that you'd help Caitlyn on this wave is Caitlyn standing here and you're just chilling over the wall right here. You don't even press E on him until they, force.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's like kind of what you want to be thinking about as support. And one more thing is that it's a lot easier to go in and face check vision by yourself when you're playing like Nautilus or Rel or Leona. When you're playing an Enchanter, it's a lot more dependent on being with someone to protect you, and it's usually going to be your jungler. So more often than not, that strategy of I'm going to walk in and place vision before the objective spawns, it doesn't work as well as Enchanters, and it's more so something that you do if you die at the beginning of a fight and you're like on the map here when the other team is like here and here, like super far away, and you have extra time.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
But yeah. All right. Let's take a look at the rest of this game.
I think this game we just gave up 2 mid towers for fun. By the way, how do I make sure we get prio mid? Because obviously I'm playing Enchanter. I cannot touch the wave, like manipulate it as efficiently as like maybe say a Brand or a Xerath, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, I might be mistaken. Maybe it wasn't this game. But in those instances where you just like don't take prio, before an objective, like as support, like is there really anything else I can do aside from just pinging? Um,
That's a good question. So there's 3 parts. I'll make a 1, 2, 3 for fun. The first
okay.
one is I'm not gonna type this out. The first one is, yeah, can we get prio? Is my teammate gonna walk up on his own because we're 3-0 on Caitlyn, for example, and we want to push this mid wave? Is my team around me? If you can't get prio, and your team isn't naturally walking up, you pinging on the way as a Lulu or a Sona or an Enchanter is pretty. It's unlikely that they're gonna step up and play the game and walk up and get prio. I think, generally speaking, before an objective, you want to think about 1, where is everybody on the map, but 2, where are you strongest? And so instead of thinking like, oh, we need to get prio before this objective, it's solo queue, and it's going to be a lot less organized than something like competitive would be, where it's a lot stricter. Like, we need to be on this mid wave or we're not contesting the dragon. More often than not, people will get caught and something will happen that's kind of not supposed to happen. So instead of viewing it like, oh, I want us to get mid prio before this objective, enchanters are kind of at the mercy of what their teammates want to do. So
Okay.
instead of viewing it like that, I would think about it like, I should never show where I am if I can avoid it. And if my team is showing that they want to go mid, then I'll go mid. But if not, I'm going to go and play around the guy that's the strongest on my team. You always want to play
Okay.
around the person on your team that's the strongest, because even if you aren't getting dragon, you're doing something that's helping the guy that's 5-0.
Okay.
And like that's not right all the time. You know, sometimes you have
Yeah.
a
Okay.
win con that's like you have a Kog'Maw that feels really bad because you're not playing to him. You're playing around Lee Sin. But for the most part, I would say link up with your jungler, and then go towards the lane that's strong. Or if it's like 30 seconds before dragon, you can
Yeah.
do a little bit of kind of making your team go mid by just pinging dragon on the way and saying like ping assistance on this mid wave and see if they're going there.
Yeah.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, you're playing enchanter. So, one, think about, can I actually get prio on this wave, and is my team stepping up? And if the answer is no, then don't show and link up with your strong guy on your team, because that will yield you kind of better results. Like, let's say you're not getting prio on this wave and they're heralding, but imagine you're here not showing. Maybe they'll over-index into playing aggressively, and now you and Lee Sin, you swept this already. Now you're behind
Uh,
them, and you have a really good fight situation.
that's fair. I don't think I've thought of that before, but that's a good
Exactly.
point.
It's like just because you're not doing the right thing, more often than not, not showing gives you time to do something else, which in this case it would be sweep their wards and link up with Lee
Yeah.
Sin. If you did that, look at this perfect angle you guys have on them.
Yeah. It's funny because you say that because I try to make plays mid by like if it's like a super volatile like let's say it's like a Kali versus Silas mid, I'll like sometimes if we have like a really good like this is during like laning phase and
Hmm.
let's say the mid laners just hit level 6, so maybe they're trying to like obviously in a Kali versus Silas matchup you're probably gonna brawl level 6, right?
Right.
Surely. So like I'll like walk up to the tower out of vision and just like sit there and just hope that one of them like tries to start fighting and then like come out of vision when it's like too when they've overcommitted or something.
Yeah. That I mean that's
But
really
I've never
solid.
thought about like doing it like as you've described it here.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I guess I should maybe expand my vision plays.
Definitely something to expand around. Vision is super important as a support, and holding control over areas. We didn't really touch on how to get vision and how to maintain vision and how to utilize it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that we like. I will talk about probably briefly and give you some things to work on vision related. I think for the
Okay.
rest of this game, the main thing that I'm seeing wrong is that you're showing on the midwave like for fun. I think showing
Okay.
generally as support, you never want to
Yeah.
reveal where you are because it just limits your options and gives them more information to play off of. You kind of want to limit as much information as possible that you're giving to the
Mm.
other team. Like you said,
Can I
like
speak to
showing
that
up
real
mid
quickly?
at the last second. What's up?
Can I speak to that really
Yeah,
quickly?
yeah,
So
go for
like,
it.
sometimes I feel like it's a good idea to stay mid so that like my ADC feels incentivized to like shove out, I guess.
Hmm.
Here I'm just staying mid because like um I heard the herald like like the sound of like the herald being spawned. So I heard it, I'm like, okay, I gotta stay mid because I don't know if my Caitlyn is like they might not use the herald to crash into the tower. What if they use it to like knock her up and like use it as an engage tool or something?
Right.
I guess that's my line of thinking. And like I see 4 mid, so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna stay here. Hopefully Lee Sin flanks and like does some crazy shit. I can like ult him and get like a 4 mid knockup. That's like my line of thinking here. At this point. Maybe it's too late, but yeah, I guess like an alternative would be to just like if I was out of vision, when I heard the herald like being spawned, maybe they're uh the enemy is like incentivized to like go in like over commit or something.
Let's
That's a fair.
go back and combine the two things we just talked about.
Okay.
So first thing being, you have free time. You are showing mid for
Yeah,
fun.
here I want to like walk that way. I see Jace who's like giga strong, so like I'm like okay, I don't know if I have control of this area. Because I think he's like maybe 2 items at this point, maybe 1.5.
Hmm.
But like, yeah, I see Jace here. I'm like, "Alright, I'm out. I'm gonna go back mid. It's safe there. Um, I don't want to get cocooned out of vision or some shit. I don't know if they have a ward over this wall, so like I don't want to hug that wall either.
Hmm.
Um. So if I were to go to like the pit, I would go like around that wall to my right there,
Hmm.
so that I don't get cocooned out of vision. Um,
Let's look at the
yeah.
setup for this play. So I'll just talk about what I think should happen, and then we'll get your thoughts.
Okay.
So first thing is there's nothing to do mid, and your jungler's basing, so you can't really do much at this time. I think it's really
Yeah.
important to use sweeper whenever you're walking in an area where it could be warded. So sweeping this is ideal.
Yeah. I saw Karma use the Q to check that bush, so I know that bush is not warded.
Hmm.
Look, yeah. I think before this, she like I saw her RQ into that the bush that's like wrapping around that like wall south of me.
Uh huh.
So that's like I don't know why she would do that if that was warded, right? Obviously. So I'm assuming that's not warded at least. Um, where I'm standing, there's a very high chance of that being warded, but I'm really egoing my sweeper to like get the maximum value because I want to sweep as much as possible. Um, is that a bad thing? Am I like egoing too much there with that line of thinking, or because if I sweep, there's only going to be a ward where I'm staying right now,
Right.
and I can't walk in there because I don't see anything.
I think you might be like over indexing into kind of what's on your screen right now
Okay.
as opposed to thinking about the overall map state. So let's go back and let's zoom out and look at the overall map state and think about your role as a support because all these questions entirely depend on what are all 10 players doing in the game right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Because whether or not you can walk up and ego and maximize your sweeper depends on where their team is. So
Yes. Fair.
as we know with waves, whenever you push a wave in, you get a timing to move.
Yep.
So, going off of that logic, because your team is answering waves inside and your Lee Sin is basing,
Yeah.
two things. One, your team is answering a wave inside, so the enemy team can do whatever they want. And two, because they have a timer, they can use that timer to do something. Generally
Yeah.
speaking, they already pushed in top, they already pushed in bot. It's unlikely that they're going to make a play bot lane, and it's unlikely that they're going to make a play top on Zillion because this guy's pretty unkillable and he's in a minion wave. So the likely
Yep.
thing for them to do, especially because they have Herald, is the Herald mid. If they're going to make a play, it's going to be they're going to come 5 mid and they're going to drop Herald. They want to break this mid tower and open up the map. Because if you break this mid tower and you push the wave into here, it gives you access to these windows into side lane, and that's how you start actually controlling the enemy's entire jungle and playing for like these side towers, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So
Yep. That makes.
it's really valuable for the enemy team to take mid tower at this point of the game. Usually teams when they take Herald, they're going to be using their Herald mid lane. So we know this. We're Lulu. We know this. We know my team's basing. So I'm Lulu. I'm zooming back into the situation. Oh no, my team is basing, and they have a window while my team is inside to come mid and drop Herald. So what I would be doing as Lulu is that instead of trying to min max, getting the most vision possible and
Yeah,
potentially get
so
caught
I'm
out
not
and
even
die.
gonna walk in there because like I don't feel safe. Obviously, I'm not gonna solo walk in there when like nobody's near me. Because as you said, like I'm not Nautilus. I will get one shot if I face check like a bad guy, you know?
Hmm.
Uh, so right now I'm just gonna constrain myself to the mid lane, because I don't feel safe to really walk anywhere aside from that. Like if I hug the blue buff wall, if I hug that, I'm like chill over there. But like right now, I don't. I'm griefing really hard because like I'm hugging the part that like I can get cocooned really easily. I can get karma RQ'd really easily. Um, so I'm kind of griefing right now. But aside from that griefing point, my line of thinking right now is I want to save sweeper until my team is here and we can like go together and get vision together.
Hmm.
I don't know what vision they have right now. I'll soon find out that Karma does not have vision in that bush that I've warded right there, because she's gonna RQ into it. So I know that much so far. So I want to bait her into warding first, and then I'll sweep all that vision.
Right.
So that she'll be like down to like a couple wards and like they're constrained in as far as their vision goes.
Right. So this is
So
what you should do. One,
yeah,
you're afraid of this, right? So I
yes,
would use one ward here and
okay,
just reveal this area. Then I would hug this wall or
yeah,
kind of play around here
yeah,
with the intention of just spotting them coming mid. Because your goal right now is to find information for your team and seeing what they're doing. I think holding your sweeper is okay. You could also make the argument to sweep this just to see if you're on wards because you
yeah, yeah.
realistically shouldn't be able to get this ward without dying if you don't have sweeper
Oh,
on.
100%, 100%,
So I'd
yes,
probably
yep,
use it, just get this one ward and kind of sit here, and then you can just hold this space for your team because you just
yep,
want to
okay,
be a body to see them walking in to actually take it.
okay, that's a good point.
So you just S key
So
here,
that
you do
also
nothing.
like yeah, yeah. That way, I'm also like not showing on the mid. So it goes back to that point that you brought up. Like I'm not showing for fun in mid, right?
And you're
Okay.
let's say you're walking back and forth here. You see Elise Karma, you're walking back and forth here, and they're right here.
Here,
If they
waiting.
start
Okay.
walking towards you, then they get information that oh, Lee Sin's not here. But this whole time that you're kind of walking back and forth, they're just guessing whether or not this Lee Sin is actually basing or not. So
Yeah, yeah.
they have to have more
Ah,
people than you guys to actually push you out, right? They don't want to just take a straight up 2v2 right now. Lee Sin's level 11. Elise has no flash. Karma has no flash. So if they were to walk and push you out, then you can assume, oh, somebody else is here, either Jace or Talent. So even just from the small adjustment of just walking back and forth and seeing what they do, that will give you insight into what their next play is, which is
yeah.
crazy. But that's like the highest level, Grandmaster, even like, or Challenger or whatever. Even in Silver Gold, you can know, wait, this guy's really, really weak, but he's just walking at me. More often than not, they're going to have people here. So you could do a better job getting info for your team. And as far as the actual play, you did a good job spotting here, finding Karma. Again, you show here for no reason. So
I do show.
because you show here for no reason, if Elise is here, now that's their key to walk in and take this.
Yeah, that my click mid is definitely autopilot.
It's
I should
bad.
maybe get in the habit of like
You see
not
why
doing
showing is really bad for the map?
Yes, yeah.
And now
Ooh,
look at this. This next play where they're all coming mid to drop heralds. One, you don't know if they have any vision here because you weren't holding this area. Like, obviously you had this ward, but you shouldn't know if they have a ward in this bush.
Yeah.
And then two, you shouldn't be showing mid at all. So pay attention to Elise. When they're going for this play, they see you. Whereas, let's say they're really kill hungry and they only see this. They'd be like, oh, let's like look for this herald play onto Caitlyn, or oh, let's like potentially look to poke him under tower. It's a lot more valuable for you to potentially be, instead of being right here where they see you, you'd rather be anywhere here. Because then maybe they make the mistake of overcommitting and you're just sitting right here after they already used their spells. And that's how we get a fight going. Or maybe they think that you're over here and they're just dropping Herald to then walk into this area, but you and Lee Sin are just sitting here ready to start a fight.
Okay.
So you kind of maximize your usefulness as support. Even if your intention is, I want to protect this Caitlyn, you could very easily protect this Caitlyn from right here or right here or right here instead of literally showing where you are and giving the other team unnecessary information. That also applies to, let's say you don't want to help Caitlyn at all and you want to be bot lane with this Lee Sin. That doesn't mean that you're going to show with him walking this way because they have vision there. You could be easily right here just shielding and Wing him over the wall as he goes in for the play. You want to be kind of min-maxing, showing right when something important is going to happen. And this is a concept that applies to not only support, but just League in general. And also other games too, like Valorant or like FPS games where you don't want to show your intentions of like rotating between sites. It's kind of a similar concept.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Gotcha.
This one took a while. But let's get to this point. We'll look over some team fights and then we'll wrap it up for today.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so here I just want one of my teammates to go in so we can get Lulu ult. Resilient ult that guy. I don't know about that one. I Lulu ult him so that the Jace cannot fight back. Like he has no counterplay. Because I don't know if he has flash. It turns out he does. So I just want to like CC him. He's like literally their only player. If you press tab, they don't have any other like any players. They don't have players except for Jace. He's the only person in the game. So my thought process for Lulu ulting right there is just like kill the Jace. Fight is won. We cannot lose at this point.
Okay.
Literally impossible.
I think that there's two things. There's two things to keep in mind. That was the first one. Is their Jace is really strong. He's the one that does all the damage. The second thing is where is Talent? Because Talent can also one-shot your team and one-shot you. So you have the right mindset of, you know, I just want to go in, I want to kill this Jace. But as support, as Enchanter, your job is to save one of your cooldowns for their win condition. So like Talon flanking your team and ulting, you should save either your polymorph or your ulti just to make sure that he can't one-shot your team. And obviously, like, you guys have cooldowns, but you should save one if you can.
I think I saved my polymorph. I might be wrong.
It seems to me like you're really in the mindset of let's just go in and kill them. But support, your team is going to do the let's go in and kill them. Your mindset should always be the, okay, what could go wrong? Where is Talon? Okay, I'm going to save one of my cooldowns just to make sure Caitlyn is safe from Talon. Because more often than not, when you're playing support, your teammates are going to be the ones that are tunneled on this situation right here. But you need to have the foresight to be like, Talon was nowhere to be found. He could very easily come from behind me. I need to be ready for that. That's my job in this fight.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, Singe goes in. It's still Talon's not showing. You see him now. And you used Poly and your ulti on this Jace when you guys didn't need to use all of your cooldowns.
Okay.
So Talon actually, it doesn't end up mattering too much, but
Yeah,
Caitlyn flashes
luckily for
and
the
Zillion
bad guy,
flashes.
why? Lucky us, I guess.
So imagine if you were, instead of doing what you did, your ult range is pretty far. You could have very
Yes.
easily stood here by the wall and not like walked up as far as you did. You either, you kind of polyed for no reason. But let's say you're
And
just standing back here in the back. Your Singe gets on top of this guy. You ult him from kind of where Caitlyn's standing. And boom, you have Polymorph channeled on this Talon already. And now your team can turn on him.
yeah, 100%. I misplayed for sure. There.
Yeah, so that
Okay.
solely changed this fight. Now your Caitlyn and your Zillion flashed out from a winning situation.
Yeah, okay.
And they didn't need to. I mean, to be honest, Talon was just going to get one shot because
I'll
he doesn't
just
have
do another
flash.
shit.
And he does no
also
damage.
focused the Seraph shield, Sebo's shield.
Yeah, like he played this terribly, but it's just improving how you play teamfight situations. It's less about focusing on how we can kill them and how we can win a situation and just kill all of them and go in and get a good Lulu ulti. You should always be kind of the more, not defensive, but proactive guy in thinking, what are they going to do? And how can they win the situation? You should start with what is the enemy team's goal and work backwards from there, as opposed to thinking about what can I do? Because your team is going to be doing that naturally. They're going to be seeing what's on their screen. They're going to be autopilot, like hitting, throwing their spells at the enemy champs. So you need to be the guy that's like the CEO of this team fight, you know, like controlling how it's going to go. Or at least being prepared for what the enemy team's response is. Oh wow, he left the game. Yeah, fight still ends up going pretty well. We burned our flashes unnecessarily. Let's look at like one more big team fight. Alright, so going into this situation real quick, we don't have vision of Talon again, so we want to be thinking about where can Talon be. Your Caitlyn just gets one taps.
Yep.
This was perfect. I think the big thing here is save your polymorph for either Talon or Jace going in, like somebody going in. And you used it. You could have very easily used it at different points, but you used it right as Jace Hammerform queued in. Like you could have ulti polymorphed this guy, which I think most people would do, but then Jace gets a free window to go in and Hammerform you guys. So you held it here.
Point, like, I think the Talon is like Giga behind. I don't know if that's true. But I think at this point he was like super behind, and again Jace was the only
perfect poly timing. Perfect.
Yeah.
This was very well played. Just knowing how to hold your cooldowns. I mean, there's not going to be much to go over when you're playing enchanters in team fights. It's just how you use your ulti and your W. You can pretty much spam your shield off cooldown.
Yeah.
But your polymorph and your ulti in this fight was really good. So yeah, let's close this out. I think I got a pretty good idea of just what your strengths are and what you could work on just from this game. So we'll talk about kind of the things that we went over, and then we'll give you some things to work on for like the next few, however long you play. So, not consistent with laning. I think you have a pretty strong understanding of like what you should be looking to do in lane phase. I think the mistake that you make is you over-index into your current game plan. Like, for example, you're like, oh, Elise should path to top, so it's really good for me to make it volatile. I think that you should practice when you're in the lane phase, kind of just focusing more on the current situation. Like, when I say current, I mean you kind of tunnel on the plan and you take away from the current situation that you're in. As in like, oh, I'm just walking into this guy and dying. It's almost like you turn your brain off, but it's like you're so focused on the idea that you have of I should be playing aggressive and I should be making it volatile that you're not thinking about what's actually on your screen. It's kind of taking away from your gameplay, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'd say focus more on the current situation and your health. You have a good kind of idea of the jungle pathing and what people generally want to do in the game, and it seems like you actually do a really good job of the hard part of playing support, which is understanding what your teammates want to do and kind of playing your lane and be positioning around that fact. That's probably the hardest part of playing support. You got that down. So now it's just focus more on the current situation, specifically in lane. The second thing I would say do is be mindful of when people can move and play around it proactively. So, for
Hmm.
example, the Talon, I'd say when you get a win, just always in the back of your head think who can be here, what can they do, and if you were to just play that situation, for example, a little bit more cleanly and like have the foresight to backping your Caitlyn, just from that one situation, I feel like this will help your win rate significantly. If you can know who could potentially be ganking you guys or who could potentially be, teleporting bot lane and kind of going into plays with that in mind, so that after you get a kill, you're immediately like, wait, where's Talon? Or wait, where's their Jace? That will help a lot as well. In mid game, I think something that you could work on. We talked about frontlining for your team and team fighting. I actually think you did a pretty good job of that in the game that we watched.
Yeah, I
When
think
you went
this one
mid,
was a bad example of that because like we were just low key, like the jungle through jungle we just won really jungle mid, sorry, we just won really hard and like we didn't bleed out bot because the enemy made some really glaring mistakes
mm-hmm,
as to like not take advantage of their lead.
mm-hmm,
Um, but so I would say maybe this was a bad example of that particular point of the frontlining.
right.
Um, but I'm sure if like we look at another game, maybe sometime in the future or something, you'll maybe see a bit more of that where like, I'll literally be in front of, or like I'll like position very aggressively to take up a lot of space, or like I'll be making calls to like invade, their buffs, um, and people will ping me off for like tempo reasons, but I feel like we have the tempo advantage. So I want to like, I guess for the future, like, um, is there a tempo mismatch? Am I in the wrong most of the time? Maybe I am, or I don't know.
I would say, I
Yeah.
mean, that's definitely something to look at.
Okay.
I normally do the whole like I charge an hour for replays, but like I said, I'll be following up in the next few
Okay.
weeks. So you can send me like a clip or something, and I could be like, oh yeah, you shouldn't do this because of this, or like, oh yeah, you should do this because of this, and we can like look
Hmm.
over those specific situations together. Um,
Sure. Okay.
Being aware of where your teammates are in relation to what's happening. Really, after like 14 minutes in mid game, I think it's just important that you think about the enemy team's next play. So, right, for example, the Herald timing, we knew that they had side push from bot and top. So you should be playing with the idea in mind of, oh, they're probably going to 5-man mid and playing around that. I think you do a really, like, too much of that in the early game. You're really thinking about the jungle pathing and how you want to play your lane based around where the junglers are. And you don't
Mhm.
do enough of that in the mid game. So if you could make it a habit and kind of go into your next solo queue games with the goal in mind of after 14 minutes or after I leave bot lane, what is the enemy team going to do? And then also assess who is strong on my team and play around them. And we can kind of group these together and just do this in each one of your games, 14 or 15 minutes. Just think about the enemy team's next play and then ask yourself this question like, who is strong on my team? Who should we play around? And then the final thing that I think would help you in situations, in team fights, think about what the enemy team needs to do to win the team fight. So, for example, the Talon flanking you, and prepare for that. Enchanters are very proactive in the sense that you want to enter situations that are good for you and you have numbers advantage and all of that. But once you're actually in a team fight, enchanters are all about reacting to what spells the other team uses on you. So really indexing into the only way they can win this fight is if Talon gets a flank, or like the only way they
Yeah.
can win this fight is if my AD carry gets, I don't know, Vi alted, so I'll like get vision for him, or I'll place myself in a way to prevent that. But really going into
Hmm.
every situation thinking about what the enemy team needs to do to win is important. And then
Hmm.
I think if you go into this kind of reframe how you play solo queue and what you do in the early game, thinking about jungle pathing, try to do less of that and focus more on what's happening on your screen. And then in the mid
Hmm.
game, think about what you were doing with jungle pathing in the early game. Whereas what's the enemy team's next play and like what can I do around that? And if you play like I don't know 5-10 solo queue games and you try to implement this into your game, it will help you a lot with your goals of hitting GM and also being more consistent in general. If that makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I'll wrap this up for now. I think, just send me replays or like send me clips if you can of just different situations as you play more solo queue. And hopefully
Sure.
this will help you with your climb. I think so far you have a really good foundation though, and I don't think it'll be hard for you to hit GM. I think it's just like you said, the working on the consistency and then like not overplaying situations, kind of using
Mm.
that overthinking and foresight that you have to your advantage. I think if you hone that, you could be definitely achieve your goals for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you for the time. Here, let me